Good evening, welcome to the debate night with me, Mohammed, Shafiq, live on the studios of Ummah channel, wherever you are watching this around the world. A very warm welcome. Welcome to the general election 2017, exclusively here on Ummah channel. Tonight, the candidates from Manchester Gorton constituency here in the northwest of England are appearing in front of you to debate the issues relevant in this general election. For the Liberal Democrats, Jackie Pearcey. Jackie's been a councillor in Manchester for over 21 years until a defeat in 2013. Jackie, a lifelong Liberal, has fought many campaigns as a councillor, from the campaign to allow war pensioners to have their war pension disregarded for council tax and housing benefit calculations, to campaign to protect local facilities such as the Gorton tub. Jackie says it's time for a strong voice for Manchester Gorton, and she says if elected she will start on day one to transform the great constituency of Manchester Gorton. For the Labour Party's Afzal Khan MEP. Afzal Khan is the MEP for the North West region since 2014. He came to the UK aged 11 and has been a First Lord Mayor of Manchester from a Muslim background. And he's been a councillor for many, many years. A trained lawyer, factory worker, police officer and community activist throughout his career. He believes that this life experience guides his public service. Excuse me. Afzal has served both his community and the Labour Party at many different levels. For the Green Party, Jess Mayo. Jess is a 36-year-old entrepreneur and mother of two. She hopes to build on the excellent result of the second from 2015 with a campaign targeting voters who value Britain's place in Europe and those who are feeling let down by a Labour Party in disarray and the Liberal Democrats who are struggling to gain the public trust. Jess says her priority will be to tackle homelessness from day one. Last but not least, George Galloway as an independent. George Galloway successfully has been a Member of Parliament for Glasgow Hillhead from 1987 to 2005 when Tony Blair kicked him out of the Labour Party following on from the illegal war in Iraq. He's a founding member of Stop the War Coalition. He defeated Una King in Bethnal Green and Bourke at the 2005 general election and won a spectacular by-election in Bradford West in 2002, but went on to lose the seat to Labour at the general election in 2015. He's an accomplished campaigner, media personality and advocate for the dispossessed and ignored. George says with his election in Gorton, he'll put Manchester Gorton on the map. The structure of the debate is as follows. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to make an opening statement and at the end of the debate 2 minutes to make closing statements. The debate will cover the following topics: economy and Brexit, NHS and education, foreign policy and finally Gorton and regeneration. We'll be opening the lines very, very shortly on 01254 695 607. If you're on Twitter, it's Ummah channel 820. And if you're watching us on Facebook Live through Shafiq UK, a very warm welcome to all of you on this debate. So we've put names into a hat and George Galloway to make the first opening statement. George, a very warm welcome.
Thank you. And as you said, I have been a Member of Parliament for almost 30 years, 6 times victorious, almost always against the odds, defeating Roy Jenkins, one of the post-war British political greats, in my first election victory, and scoring a few spectacular successes along the way. The consolation prize for anybody that I beat is that they always end up in the House of Lords, at least up till now. I was kicked out of the Labour Party after 36 years of membership, representing it at all levels, over my role in opposition to the war on Iraq. And my political position is quite simple. As long as Tony Blair is at liberty, as long as Tony Blair is at large, as long as he's still in public life, and as long as he commands the loyalty of large numbers of the fifth column inside the Labour Party, I'll keep pursuing them. If there's a Blairite to be fought and there's no danger of the Tories getting in, I'm prepared to fight them. I have the experience, I believe I have the ability, by the grace of God, to do the job. Parliament is about talking, advocating. If you want a Queen's Counsel, if you want somebody to represent you in court, it's better that you go for the best Queen's Counsel, the best lawyer to appear in front of the judge on your behalf. So That's what I'm placing at the disposal of the electorate in Manchester, Gorton. The late MP, Sir Gerald Kaufman, was a close friend of mine for more than 30 years. We travelled this country and far beyond on behalf of the people of Palestine, the people of Kashmir. We were a double act. And if Gerald's looking down on me now, I feel sure that he'd want me to triumph in this election.
Thank you so much, George Galloway, standing as an independent. Jackie Pearcey from the Liberal Democrats.
Well, this election is about changing Britain for the future and giving hope of all of the futures. We have an NHS that is desperately in need of funding. In Manchester, every single A&E unit is failing to meet targets of people arriving. We are actually going to fund the NHS and say how we're going to do that. We're going to be putting a penny on the income tax in order to make sure it's properly funded, but also, vitally, that mental health services, which have been neglected for so long, will also be funded. We have a hope when it comes to education that we are going to reverse the cuts to our schools and make sure that the schools that our children go to are properly funded and properly resourced. I've lived in Manchester Gorton for 32 years. It's my home. I first came here to do my PhD and I've lived here ever since. I love the place, but it has been horribly neglected by both Labour and Conservative governments. There is a desperate need to make Gorton a better place to live. I was honoured to represent Gorton for 21 years on Manchester City Council, and I managed to make some changes of which I'm very proud. But a lot needs to be done as a Member of Parliament. We need a strong opposition to this Conservative government. We need people who are actually willing to stand up and speak for the people of Gorton, but also who lives there and who loves the place.
Thank you very much, Jackie Pearcey. Jess Mayo from the Green Party, welcome.
Thank you. So firstly, I stand here as a mother and I take my roles as being a mother very seriously. And my children's future is what is driving me being on this spot now. Because I understand the difference between teaching my children about how to be honest. And in our political system, we don't see that. I understand that when they go to school, it needs to be properly funded, and we haven't seen that. We've seen a drastic shortage in funds and dropping in children, but yet pushing them into such things as tests, but yet not teaching them about how to have a high self-esteem. And in England, if you have a look at the amount of people that are actually taking antidepressants just to be able to deal with the day-to-day runnings of things, this is not the future that I want to leave for my children. I also understand that it's really important to have a very strong local economy, and we are not seeing that with tax breaks for big corporations. And the Greens, we don't accept money from tax dodgers, which is why we have a lot less money, which means that you don't see us so much, because we don't want to be manipulated by them so that we can actually stand to fight them. And as far as the NHS goes, it has been underfunded by both Labour and Conservatives for a very long time. And anybody that uses the facilities knows that there is a problem. And we are crashing down now, and I stand for change, because we need change.
Thank you very much, Jess Mayo there from the Green Party. Last but not least, Afzal Khan from the Labour Party. Good evening, welcome.
Good evening. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. This general election is a really important moment for our country. It's a choice between a Tory government with 5 more years of cuts and broken promises, or a Labour government which will invest in our public services, fight for better jobs and wages, and build a more equal Britain. Since 2010, Manchester has been hit hard by cuts from the Tories and the Lib Dems. £300 million has been taken from the council's budget, and more cuts to schools and the NHS are on the way if Theresa May gets back into Downing Street. Only a vote for a Labour can stop this from happening. I'm Afzal Khan, and I'm a Labour's candidate in this election. I'm not your typical politician. At 11, I was adopted out of poverty and brought to the UK. Manchester has been my home for nearly 40 years. I studied here, got married here. My children were born and raised here. I was born in Pakistan, but I was made in Manchester. Over the last 16 years, I've been a leading councillor, Manchester Lord Mayor, and now your MEP. I know what it takes to get things done in politics, but I've never been a career politician. I started work in a cotton mill, then as a Manchester bus driver and a police officer before becoming a lawyer. I understand the hopes and aspirations of people here because they are the same aspirations I have for my family, and I'll fight for them every day as your MP. But this election is significant not just because of that general election, it's also a chance for us to make history. If I am elected, I'll be the first ever BME MP representing Manchester. This would be a proud moment for our city. So a vote for Labour in this election is a vote for a fair future for Manchester and for Britain. I hope tonight you'll agree that I am the candidate with experience and skills to deliver a fair deal for Manchester Gorton. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's get started. Just remember the number 01254 695607. The number is on your screen now. You can get in touch with us. The lines will open very, very shortly, and once they do, we'll take your live questions. Remember, keep your questions brief and to the point. We'll get through them as many as possible. Let's start with you. Liberal Democrats, this is your campaign for relevance, and you've picked the issue of Brexit,
Yes.
i.e. a second referendum.
Yes.
I thought the name of your party is Democrat. Why haven't you accepted the referendum result last June?
Because there was a lot of lies on both sides talked in that referendum last year, and there was a lot of scaremongering, and a lot of people felt that they were voting for things that they didn't get. So, for example, the Leave campaign were making it very clear that, in their view, we would not be leaving the single market, and I know people who voted Leave for that reason. Now, we actually do need to have a look at the deal. If it's a bad deal, we need to give the people a chance to say, okay, the promises that were made cannot be delivered, let's have a referendum on the deal. Because when we know what the deal is, if we know if there's going to be tariffs, if there's what's going to happen with free movement of people, that's when we know if that's actually what we want.
Paddy Ashdown, your former leader, said during that referendum campaign, if you vote Leave, you're voting to leave the single market.
That was on the Remain campaign said that
if you leave, we're going to leave the single market. So what's the problem with leaving the single market now?
The Remain campaign said a Leave vote meant leaving the single market. The Leave campaign said that was fiction. They said that was not going to happen. Now, clearly, both sides can't be right on this, and it does look like we're leaving the single market. Now, this could be catastrophic down the line. I work for a company where 2/3 of our turnover is in the Republic of Ireland. Our customers in Ireland rely on the open border between Northern and Southern Ireland. The peace process and the prosperity of North and Southern Ireland depend very much on that open border, and it all belongs to the EU. Now, if you buy a house, you put an offer in for a house, and you get a survey, and the survey shows that the house isn't what you thought it was falling apart, you actually have the right to withdraw the offer and say, okay, I've changed my mind.
So you'll have a perpetual referendum until you get the result that you want.
When we've got the deal, when we know what the deal is, we can offer people then a referendum on the specifics of the deal, and that's democratic.
Let me bring George Galloway in. George, you opposed remaining in the UK. You were for Brexit. You shared a platform with Nigel Farage and other loonies from the UKippers. Do you regret sharing that platform?
I'm not sure how many loonies were there. There were some Labour loonies, some Tory loonies, some Liberal loonies, and all kinds of trade union loonies, if you want to call them that. But in parenthesis, it was David Cameron that called the referendum. David Cameron would never have been the Prime Minister of Britain if it hadn't been for the Liberal Democrats. The Liberal Democrats made David Cameron Prime Minister of this country. And much of what we're going to talk about this evening, the disaster of the British economy and society, is firmly layable at the door of the Liberal Democrat Conservative coalition. So I give Jackie fair warning now. I've done it before. I'm going to keep doing it. Every time she talks about the wickedness of the Tories, I'm going to remind everyone that they were the people who put the Tories in power. Now,
why do you support Brexit? Yeah.
You asked the question about Brexit. You know, it's really important in life to understand that democracy has to be implemented. You cannot have a never-ending. The Scottish nationalists are trying to do it in Scotland. You don't get the result that you want, hey, we'll call another one. And that's